Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 164 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I am your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I am a speaker and author of the book From Letters to Leaders, Creating Impact on Your College Campus and Beyond. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there's nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together and also college students together. Fun fact, I moved my family from New York to Nashville, Tennessee in 2012. Since then, the real estate market here in Nashville is absolutely booming. There are 82 people every single day moving to Nashville because of the low cost of living, no state income tax, low property taxes, great weather, incredible music scene, NFL, NHL, and soon Major League Baseball is going to be coming to Nashville. You might be wondering, how can you build your own business around real estate in the future to take advantage of these high growth areas around the country? Now, my next guest knows that there's a big world out there. Do you want to make a mark on it? Are you hungry for more money, success, confidence, and security? To get to that next level, you've got to make it happen. Entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to move your life and your career forward, so long as you have proper expectations and the mindset for success. I know this as a serial entrepreneur. Now, Oliver Seidler had to learn these lessons the hard way. He started his own real estate company right before the recession, fought like crazy to keep it alive during those lean years, and then he saw rapid growth and expansion in the years that followed. Now, Oliver's new book, it's called A Renegade's Rules, How a C Student Created an A Life and How You Can Too. This book, I've read the book, it recounts Oliver's journey from waiting tables to heading up a company that pioneered the wholesale real estate industry. So in this book, you're going to learn how to respond when things don't go according to plan, how to deal with people who try to screw you over, and what to do about the fear that's determined to hold you back. I hear about this all the time, that fear is ultimately what's holding people from realizing their dreams. So what you're going to discover in this book is you're going to find out how to live a life that's filled with more options, excitement, challenge, fulfillment, and purpose. Welcome to the show, Oliver.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I'm
Hey,
excited
it's
to be
my
here.
pleasure. Well, good. Listen, I mean, I have so much to learn from you. I know our audience has so much to learn from you. Love the book. I thought it was absolutely incredible. But for our
Thanks.
audience, I think it's important for them to understand where you came from. And if we go back to your undergraduate studies, you decided on Florida State for your experience. Why was Florida State the best choice for you?
Well, funny enough, I started off, as I says, C student. I think I graduated with like high school at 2.3 or something. So I actually couldn't get into any university, and started off in community college, actually in Gainesville, next to UF. Went there for a couple years, and then had all my friends actually from high school went to FSU. So couldn't get into the university, started off the community college in Gainesville, didn't really like Gainesville, actually came back down to South Florida, did some more community college at PBCC, then got my credits enough to get into regular university, went to FAU for a semester, and then all my friends from high school and stuff were at FSU. Seemed like a fun place. When I was in Gainesville, I traveled up there a lot and partied, so got in there, and that was it. Ended up finishing up at FSU, but I had a lot of credits from all different schools, ended up being 6 different colleges, and had them all transferred into FSU and got my actual degree from there, and was up there for about 2 years. So yeah.
So you're an FSU grad. I mean, I love the perseverance. I mean, you just made it happen, and I love it. And sure, did you have obstacles along the way? I'm sure you did. I'm absolutely sure that you did.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you made it. I mean, you did it, which is awesome. I absolutely love that. And, this new book is really good. And I think the reason why I liked it so much is that you had a very similar upbringing as I did, because both of us were working tons of jobs as a kid. I was delivering newspapers in town. I had my own lawn mowing business for all the neighbors in the community. Absolutely nothing was given to me.
Hmm.
And I also had to budget accordingly for all the things that I wanted as a kid, whether that be clothes or eventually buying a car or whatever. And my Jewish grandparents also escaped Nazi Germany. And that meant that my parents grew up with absolutely nothing,
Hmm.
literally playing with no toys. I mean, getting chocolate once a year for their birthday. And they just built their own successes in life from nothing.
Yeah.
And my dad talks about it all the time, coming to this country from Israel, and he had a couple $100 in his pocket, and that was it. And he was like,
Hmm.
make it or not, right?
Right.
And so, in your book, you frequently talk about this, the C student, and you've talked about your grades in high school, and then going through college and that whole experience. What does it mean to you to be a C student, and how did your grade school work ethic now transfer to your work ethic now as an adult?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a whole thing, with the Jewish people because, there was no home country for them. They were had persecuted against them from, way before World War II, just over time. So I think the people had a history of like being merchants in new places, coming to new places with nothing, and then having to make something of themselves. So I think obviously that gets passed down generation over generation. And so for me, yeah, it was the same kind of thing. I always, wanted to make money. I wanted to work. I wanted to, get ahead. And I started off when I was 13, being a busboy, and then like you said, a bunch of odd jobs doing, gas station attendant, delivery driver, Baskin Robbins scooper. I mean, all kinds of different things. And then ultimately doing a lot of serving jobs during college because that was the most money you could make. And I thought it gave good experience socializing with people. In a way, you're presenting to each table that comes in. You're talking to people you might typically not, and you're serving them, right? So it's a humility lesson as well. And so I think, working hard in those things, even though that they weren't my ideal job and wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be in life, doing the best that I could at each of those positions and building that work ethic along with, the humility, the social skills, all the other different things, particularly that waiting did, I think served me well in, my professional life once I got done with college. To just try to be the best that I could be at those jobs. And then when the stakes were higher, um, you know, putting in those same kind of fundamentals got me ahead professionally.
I like that. And you've obviously learned a lot of lessons along the way. You talked about the humility that you learned being a server. Just yesterday, I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody and we were talking about my job where I was selling books door to door out in California over the summer while I was in college. And that's got to be the hardest job in the world because the
Yeah.
rejection rate is like 95%, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you don't know, you have this map of all the homes in the area and you don't know where the 5% of yes is. You just have to go and find it. And boy, oh boy, did that teach me so many lessons that
For
really
sure. Yeah.
served me well over a lifetime. So you
Yeah.
get a lot of good
Definitely.
lessons there. Now, many of our college listeners, they're just starting out in their careers. And I'm wondering, you talked about waiting tables. How did you go from that to becoming a successful real estate agent?
Well, yeah. I mean, I got into waiting tables probably when I was 18-ish, something like that, and kind of did it through college. And when I graduated college, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And the real estate market was hot at the time, but what I did know was waiting tables, and you could make good money with it. So, or decent money at the time. So when I graduated, got a job at a couple different restaurants actually, and it just like wasn't doing it for me. And my dad, I remember, was saying, look, this could be a rotating door. Yeah, you're making good money, but you're never going to make great money, and it's probably not going to be fulfilling. Make sure you don't get caught into it. So I actually quit 2 or 3 restaurants that I would have been happy at a year or two prior. And was like, I just can't do this. Like, I put my time in, I've served enough people, I graduated college, like, I got to do something different. And the real estate market in 2004 was really hot, and knew that I wanted to do something more, didn't know what that was hot. Had a friend working at a company that does wholesale real estate in an old school way, and he was doing well with it. Set me up a meeting with the guy who ran that office, and we talked for an hour. I didn't even have a resume. It was a 100% commission sales job. We got along good. He's like, "You want the job?" I said, "Sure." He hired me on the spot, and would then I got a job at a nightclub, working as a kind of the front door guy there. while I got my real estate license and got going in that job until I started making commissions. Once I started making commissions there, I quit the nightclub thing and never looked back.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really smart. I think that's a good way to prove out your business. I mean, for me, I had a similar road. I mean, I was doing accounting and I was all the way up to CFO of a technology company in Manhattan, but it was boring. I mean, doing debits and credits, you can only do that for so long. After a few
Yeah.
years, you're like, what am I doing? And, basically at night, I had this web design company and I was doing search engine optimization. I was doing that at night and I was doing it on the weekends. And after a few months, I was making more money at night and on the weekends doing web design and search engine optimization. And I was like, all right, I guess it's time to move on.
Hmm.
And you just know because you can prove it out. You can see that you're making more money with your side hustle than you are your real job.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think that's a really good way to prove it out if you want to test something as an entrepreneur and see if it's really going to work or not. But you started your business in real estate just before the 2008 recession. I mean, the
Mhm.
market just crashed there. How did that impact you, not just your business, but also you personally, your drive and your success?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously nobody could have predicted the crash as bad as it was. I mean, I think looking back in hindsight, it was easy to see how overinflated the market was and the lending practices and all those different things that kind of led up to that. But yeah, I mean, me and my business partner at the time, we started in March of 2006, hit the ground running. Weren't really too afraid of failure. We just kind of figured we would get through no matter what happened. And then the subprime market crashed in the middle of 2007. So, um, in a way, we were a little bit lucky because we didn't have enough money to have a bunch of assets at that time. And we were really aggressive. And so, a lot of people that I had started with had built up the portfolios of houses and things like that, and they really got crushed in it. We didn't have that. I think we didn't have the assets for it, but we also didn't really want it, and we recognized the assets were really high. But I think when the collapse happened as fast as it did, it was draining every single day. It's kind of a battle every day coming in, trying to make deals happen, trying to pay the bills. We had to pivot the business plan really quickly, cut back our marketing expenses, our salary expenses, and all those things, which we had grown really quickly in that year and a quarter, year and a half before that happened. And then I think it was just persevering through it every single day. Just coming in. We always said, just like, come in, put your head down, suck it up and work through it, get creative, make deals happen. And I think, kind of the theme throughout my whole book and my life, I guess, is, taking a risk or a leap of faith, having the resilience to get through whatever, and at the same time learning and soaking in as much information as you can. And I think, and that's been a repeated pattern of, even, from taking our business where it was a year ago to where we're trying to get to in the next couple of years. It's the same thing. It's a risk or a leap of faith to do that. I'm going to learn as much as I can through that, and then I'm going to have the resilience because I know there's going to be obstacles no matter what I do. So yeah.
I love it. Risk, learn. I mean, this is just absolutely amazing lessons that you've learned. And I've really taken the same approach
Yep.
to some of the businesses that I've built. And it's the same formula. It's a carbon copy print
Yeah.
of it. And for other aspiring or new business owners that are listening right now, what is the best possible response that they could have when things don't go according to plan?
The best response, I mean, I really think it's kind of based on that. It's do your preparation as much as you can. I think that's why the learning is invaluable. The learning that you can do externally, and then as you get through each chapter of your life or each chapter, you get more experience, right? So you have more learning for the next adversity that comes. But I think it really just comes down to grit and resilience, is that you just know no matter what, you're going to do everything in your power, your control, to push through whatever adversity comes, because it will come. I mean, it's inevitable that it will. So I think it's just having that resilience and grit to get through it. But then at the end of the day, taking that initial risk or that initial leap of faith is, if you really look at the downside of things and it doesn't work out, what's really the worst that's going to happen? I talked about this on another podcast. This Tim Ferriss has this TED talk on fear setting. and everybody does goal setting and, goals and all this stuff like that. But fear setting is an interesting thing to do as well, where you look at the downside if something doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. And mostly the downside is not as bad as you think it in your head. And when you actually write it down and look at like what's the absolute worst thing that's going to happen, it's really not as bad as you think. So, just go for it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Your book is really, to me, about two things: resilience and vision. And one of the things that a lot of college students are struggling with, and I know because I work with them every day, every single week, it's really that resilience in the face of adversity when they get thrown some kind of hurdle. And what worries me a little bit is sometimes I see college students just giving up too easily. I mean, there's going to be adversity, whether it's in college or beyond, for sure. You and I have had
Mhm.
tons of adversity in our careers, and that's going to come, and that's a guarantee. But how do you get over that? How do you stay so resilient? Because I think that lesson on how you do that is so important to translate to younger people right now. I feel like they're just giving up too easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit has to do with vision as well. It's kind of like knowing what that end target is, and knowing that you want to hit that, and you'll kind of walk through walls to do that. I think that's part of it. And then, at least for me personally, it's finding like an internal motivation. For me, it's like a fear of failure, I guess. I just don't want to fail. And I've almost like told friends, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And in a way, done it to say, all right, well, I can't fail now. Like I told my friends I was going to get to this level or that level, or thinking about, teachers who doubted me in the past, or just people that have doubted me in the past, and just kind of gotten internal motivation from that, along with knowing that I'm going to go to a target. And another big thing too is, for me at least, I think a lot of the most successful people, it's not that they're the smartest or the most talented or any of that. It's, to me, a little bit of last person standing, and your competition isn't really all that much when you persevere through things, because most people just won't persevere through it. And you don't need to be smarter or more talented or anything like that. You just have to be more perseverant and work harder, or whatever it is. And then once you do that, the pool of people you're competing against is actually less. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's kind of a culmination of a lot of different things. But a lot of it is just like, I could never, I just don't want to fail to the people around me, and I'd feel crappy. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I get it completely. I'm motivated by the same thing. I mean, there are plenty of people in your life, whether it be family members or quote unquote friends, that are doubters, that they don't
Yeah.
think that you can do it. And that itself motivates you to say, you're damn right, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be successful. So I get that.
It could be that. It could be putting a picture of those people up, if that
Yeah.
motivates you. It could be putting a picture of your vision board
Yep.
up. It could be making promises to certain people that you're going to do this or that, to make sure that you kind of put yourself in a situation where there's like no other option.
Mhm.
And if there's no other option and you have to push through it, then you can get through some pretty crazy stuff. And then another thing I think that's helped, especially when I've been in like tough situations, is simply, um, a psychologist kind of told it to me one time, is like, 5 pillars to a stool. And if all of those pillars are strong, you're strong. And they were just simply like, eating healthy, working out, preferably outside, sleeping, uh, social and community, and then sex. And she was like, if you have all five, and she was an older woman, so it's kind of funny, but like, if you have all of those 5 things going, your stool is going to be really stable. And I found, keeping a good balance of that has been really important. But particularly when I'm in like really tough situations, it's like taking care of myself, and all those things, particularly eating healthy, sleeping,
Mhm.
and working out has helped me persevere through a lot of like, tough mentally or physically challenging situations,
Yeah.
professionally.
I agree completely. I'm working out every single day, every single morning, and it does help me focus.
Huge. Yeah.
So I enjoy that as well. You in the book, you talk a little bit about some kinds of people who try to screw over entrepreneurs. So how should listeners who are listening right now, how should they handle these people when they come around?
Well, yeah, and I don't remember specifically entrepreneurs, but I think there's just people who are going to doubt you and
Right.
whatever it is that you do. And I think it's just, not letting them affect you or trying to turn it into a positive of saying like, let their doubt or their, whatever meanness to you motivates you to say like, I'm going to beat like, well, maybe it's bad. That's the way I look at it. It's like, I'm going to beat this person now for sure. Like they doubt me. Okay. That's going to fuel me even more now. So I think you can reframe it and look at that as like, all right, well, you don't think I can do this? No, I can do this. Let me like now show you and like kind of turn that into a motivation. But I think also, knowing that when people have a problem with you, it's really just their own problem. There's the book, the Four Agreements, and it's a great book. And one of the agreements is like, don't take anything personally. And
Yeah.
like mostly when somebody else has a problem with you, it's just a reflection of a problem that they have with their own self. So it's like, who cares, move on.
It's so true. It is so true. It's usually a reflection of the problems they have with themselves. And what we're talking about here is a fairly common thing. I mean, when you think about athletes, I think about Michael Jordan's story.
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, getting kicked off of his basketball team and just use that as fuel. Like, you don't believe in me? I'm
Yeah.
going to show you just how much I'm going to be the best basketball player on the planet. You're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
kick me
Yeah.
off of your basketball team.
Exactly. Yeah, that's been a huge motivator for me, and I think they talk about certain people are motivated by different things, but
Yeah.
people who've doubted me for sure. And then I think also, like I've said, is like make some promises to tell some people you're going to do this or you're going to do that. Put yourself in a situation where you're going to look like a dumbass if you don't. And yeah, that stuff can really motivate you. Because I was actually same thing thinking about Michael Jordan because I've watched tons of his stuff and read a book of his a long time ago, and I know he was really fueled by that like high
Yeah.
school thing as well as a bunch of other things, and let him fuel that. So yeah.
I get that. I totally get that. It resonated with me as well. I said, you know what? We've all been through something like that. Somebody who didn't believe that we can do something, and just using that as fuel over and over and over again seems to work for some people. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we should
Yeah,
talk
for
about your
sure.
business too, which I think
Yeah.
is pretty incredible. You're the co-founder and CEO of Property Force. You specialize in low-income houses that are for sale in hot real estate markets. And I went on the website. Right now, you're in Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Tell us about how this product works. And do you have any plans to grow into other markets other than those?
Yeah, so we kind of took the wholesale model that my old company does and a lot of people did, and we did it a lot differently. Essentially 5 years ago, I turned it into a virtual model where a lot of people are on the grounds going to the houses. We do it all virtually. It's very technology driven. Marketing, sales. So essentially, we go into an area, we find local investors that want to buy houses to fix up and rent or resell, profile them, database them, like know exactly what they're looking for, build relationships with them. And then in that same market, we're also marketing to sellers who want to sell quickly. Once we secure the contract with that seller, we put it out to sale for that database of buyers and relationships that we have and liquidate the property quickly. So essentially, we're finding properties for investors who want to fix them up and rent them or resell them. It's very quick, very fast transactions. All of our sales agents are, for the most part, local in South Florida, but then we also now have brought in some people that work virtual from different parts of the country. And yeah, we're actually in Florida and Georgia. We pulled back on Texas for a little bit. We just wanted to kind of like really hone the model in a little bit more. And then yeah, we plan to enter a new market probably by the end of the year, or if not, the first quarter of next year, and then start to scale into new markets. We haven't identified which one, but probably something in the Southeast. Maybe in North Carolina, Tennessee, potentially
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah, I'm seeing high growth there. North Carolina and Tennessee is where everybody seems to be heading. So I think either one of those would be really smart. I love the business model. I mean, it's an incredible business model. Certainly high growth, and congratulations. I think you're right in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's again, right now it is, but
Yeah.
it's 15 years. That's what we've said is like there's no I guess there is such thing as an overnight success story, but most of them aren't. I mostly like have my little camera thing pointed to this thing. Can you see
Mhm.
here?
Yep.
Is like, the top of the iceberg. Yeah, right now it's good, but there's been a lot of stuff, um, you know, underneath it. And hopefully the market stays good, um, for a while. And I think it will.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
That image is so true. I went out to dinner last night with a couple of people, and they're like, you just work on the weekends, right? I mean, that's when you speak to the college students. It's like Saturday and Sunday. So you're like off all week, right? I'm like, you don't even see all the work that I'm putting in all week long
Right.
to get on that stage on the weekend. Like, that
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
happen just miraculously. Like, I got to do work to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think now, especially, it's like also for if this is targeted at college kids, is like with social media too. It's like everybody's showcasing the highlights and there's mostly a lot behind it, to get
Totally.
to that level. And then, you got to keep it once you're at that level too. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Now, I mean, you mentioned for the 2008 recession, I mean, you mentioned that there were some warning signs out there that in hindsight, you should have been able to see, right? I mean, what do you think about the real estate market right now? And I mean, do you think we're approaching some kind of a bubble here? What's your impression?
yeah, I don't know if it's a bubble, but I do think there's a correction. Part of the reason I got into this part of real estate was because it's very margin based. You can make money in any market, albeit in a crashing market, it is very hard.
Mhm.
But you know, I don't know. I mean, I thought the market was going to even off or correct a little bit a couple years ago. So who knows? But I do think it's really high right now, and a lot of the prices don't make sense. And I'm very graph focused, and I think Bitcoin's the perfect example. It's like you look at something on a graph, and as soon as it goes out of control, mostly it corrects back down the other way. And so I don't think real estate is like off the charts or anything like right now, but I do think it's a little bit overinflated a lot because there's just lack of inventory because people can't move during COVID, and then a lot of money pumped in by the government. And so there's high demand, low supply because people aren't moving. And so naturally prices would go up. But I don't think there's going to be any kind of a crash like there was in 2008. That was just,
Mhm.
artificially blown up by mortgages. Now there's like more cash purchases in the market and there's not such overextended loans. But I don't know, nobody, I think nobody, well, I don't think I know nobody has a crystal ball. So I do my best to, stay prepared, learn as much as I can, tighten up everything in our company. The tighter our processes are, the better the people are in the company. The more on top of it, the better we'll be able to stay through any kind of market cycle. And they can be good if market cycles happen and it goes down. A lot of people won't be prepared for it, and then that clears the field, and you have less competition. So,
Yeah,
but
I
we'll
agree with
see.
you. I think there's just high demand right now. I mean, I was thinking about putting new windows into my home, and the guy told me that's like a 2 month
Yeah,
lead time to try to get windows. So they can't build. There's high demand. We want new houses, but there's no materials to buy all the stuff that you need to buy to build a house. And so there's just high demand right now. And the other thing I think that's a little bit different from 2008 is the lending practices. I think the
for
lending
sure.
practices right now are still very, very strong. I know for sure because my wife, she does residential mortgages. The lending practices are still on point, and there's nothing bananas that's going on like there was in 2008. And I think that's the one difference that I see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the lending practices, I mean, it's harder to get a loan now. I think they're requiring people to bring more money to the table and things like that. So that really was, the biggest thing that brought the market down before. But yeah, I think it's all supply and demand, and different things affect the supply and demand on the real estate market. But um, so yeah, again, I think it's a little bit overinflated right now, but I don't think it's too crazy as far as like doing repairs and stuff on a house. It's funny, like I'm helping my mom with doing some stuff on her house and they need a new roof, but not like right now. And we just decided, we're like, hey, let's just wait like 6 months or a year because the
Yeah,
supply chains are messed up and it's all,
totally.
I don't know. I would definitely, I'm a little bit like, I'm cautiously optimistic about the market, but I would be, skeptical a little bit if I was flipping a lot of houses, as like fixing them up and reselling them, and I had a lot of inventory right now. I'd be a little careful. And it seems like in all the markets right now, I mean, the stock market seems like it's kind of like correcting a little bit. Bitcoins obviously went from 65 to 29 or something like that. So it seems like reality is like setting back in.
Yeah.
Nothing goes up forever. Although it's like interesting because when things are going up, people tend to think it's going to just keep going forever. And when it's going down, same thing, but it never does. So who knows? But
Yeah. Tell your mom to hold on 6 months. The supply chain will be fixed. And
that's
she'll be able to get cheaper product, cheaper
for
material.
sure. Yeah,
Same thing if you want to buy a new car, just wait 6 months. The supply chain will fix itself.
it will for sure. Nothing. People are like short-sighted. They think it's going to last forever. It won't. But yeah, you know.
I love it. All right. So we do love good food here at Fraternity Foodie. So I want to know, you're living in Miami. I mean, talk about great restaurants. I mean, are you kidding me? What's your
Yeah.
go-to restaurant in Miami?
I would say for like good higher end,
Uh,
Zuma, I love. And that's in a few different cities. So that would probably be my top spot. Some other good ones like Joe's Stone Crab is really good.
yeah.
Um, Pubelli Sushi I find really good. Lucali's Pizza Place is good. So yeah, there's some good ones there.
There you go. So all of our listeners in Miami, now you know where to go to eat. There you go. This is
Healthy,
great.
if you want a healthy, good option, little cheap apple a day cafe is great. A little hole in the wall. So yeah.
Apple a Day Cafe. All right. Now I know where to go next time I'm speaking in Miami. So I'm going to hit those spots. I love
Hmm.
it. If any of our listeners, if they want to get started in finding real estate investment properties, or they just want to follow you on social media and connect, where should they go?
Yeah, it's that, and also we have a lot of sales agents, 100% commission. A lot of them making a lot of money, and a lot of them are recent grads. It's a very 21 to 30, 35-year-old demographic, perfect for people who are graduating, and yeah, they're making a lot of money. When they're working hard, and a lot of our agents are buying their own properties and building portfolios and things like that. So the best place to find me is Oliver Seidler _ on Instagram. And from there, you can find our company, follow us there. You can message me directly there, and that's kind of the best place.
I love it. Oliver Seidler, that's spelled Seidler _ Check him out on Instagram and go check out his company, Property Force. Love what you're doing, Oliver. I am super happy that we got to spend a little bit of time together today,
For
and all the
sure.
best going forward. I really appreciate it. I think our listeners, all the new grads that are kind of looking at this real estate market saying, hey, I'd like to, put my toe in the water and see what I can do. I think you're a great resource for them. So thank you so much for
For
sharing
sure.
all of that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course, it's my pleasure. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this talk with Oliver, please like it, share it with other real estate people that you know of on your college campus, recent grads, people who are trying to get into this market. And we hope to see you on another episode of Fraternity Foodie. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.